Olusegun Alebiosu, who is the CEO of First Bank of Nigeria, says poverty eradication is among a list of concerns that should keep international leaders up at night. Special interview here with Arise international correspondent Adefemi Akinsanya. Mr. Alebiosu discussed the importance of financial impact in poverty eradication for the betterment of Nigerians, Africans, and people across the globe. United Nations General Assembly in New York.
Well, on the sidelines of the 79th edition of the United Nations General Assembly, we are here at the UN Global Compact Leaders Summit, and I'm joined by Olusegun Alebiosu, who is the CEO of First Bank of Nigeria. A very warm welcome to Arise News. Thank you for your hospitality so far. We are, of course, looking at international issues, international impacts, and definitely the first question I want to ask you is if you were to cast your mind and think about important issues that are keeping global leaders up at night, what would they be?
One, rising poverty and inequality across the world. And we've seen that everywhere. Two, the climate issue. And three, gender.
And what do you think is the type of poverty that you would seek to eradicate?
Poverty, in whichever form you see them, they are all symptoms of something. And so, most times, poverty comes from lack of access and lack of resources. So, whichever way you look at it, if you want to go to school and you're unable to finance it, it's the same. If your parents are unable to raise the money, it's the same. Okay, if you're unable to feed yourself, if you're unable to, if resources around you are not sufficient to actually advance your own interest, they all contribute to the same thing: capacity, capability, and access. And so to eradicate poverty, and of course, you know, we have, even in our country, have multidimensional poverty. And you do know that reality is that the most important factor of production in 21st century is finance. So whichever way you look at it, the easiest way to get people out of poverty is access to finance.
That is quite a telling description for you, being that you're in this position. But I wonder if you could talk us through what you've been discussing here at the Leaders Summit. What type of ideas have you been made privy to? What ideas you have tried to share when it comes to making a truly global impact? What have you been able to learn here today?
Well, several things, right? Innovation, innovative financing, sustainable financing, and of course, artificial intelligence, implications for humanity, for biotechnology, and so many other things that will shape the future. And that it's unfortunate that most times we don't plan for the future, we run into it. But other people are planning for the future, and how the future will be shaped is today. And we're seeing it. And of course, technology has always acted as real differentiator across the world. And if you check in the last 20 years, monies have been made in IT. And so if you don't have the human resources to actually get to that level, you will fall behind. And that's what we are seeing. And the Global South has not been able to do so. So the Global North has been able to win. Apart from India, that is able to fight back, the entire Global South has not been able to rise up to it. And that income gap is so wide. So you just check the market value of the big tech companies in the US or in Europe, and check the economies of the entire developing world and ask yourself, what is the worth of this company and the total economy, total GDP of these other countries added together? What does it mean to you? So when you check research fund of some of these companies, about $20 billion, just research alone for a year. It's more than the budget of some countries, of many countries added together. It tells you that, hey, the inequality is real, and that the gap will continue to widen, except we actually build human resources that allow us to go forward.
I'm glad you mentioned human resources, because in your first answer you listed gender and gender imbalances that have contributed to what keeps global leaders up at night, issues that they want to tackle. So again, coming in from your perspective as an expert in finance, in the Nigerian space, in the African space, when you are looking at sustainable development goals, being that we're here at the United Nations, which ones jump out at you? Which ones do you think that you would be able to tackle most easily in your line of work, in your line of duty?
Financial inclusion and how that will support poverty alleviation. And of course, First Bank, looking at us, we have the largest agency network in Nigeria, employing many people, many of them women. And we've seen how financing and access to finance can help people even in remote locations to advance their economic interest. And looking at the capital synchronization and termination processes, if you have a cooperative society in a rural community and they're empowered with loans for them to be able to trade, if you carry out that experiment over a 10-year period, you can compare that community to the next community where they don't have that kind of financial leverage. The difference you are going to see will be economic development, empowerment, poverty eradication here, and the other community where they don't have that, you will see endemic poverty. It's very glaring, because commerce on its own promotes economic development.
And then finally, sir, because I know you're very busy and we do appreciate the time that you've given us today, when you look at the impact of First Bank, for example, as a leader in terms of financial institutions in Nigeria, which is where we're all from, what do you think will be the hallmark of your legacy? I know you're very, very early on in your journey. A huge congratulations in terms of you being made the formal CEO at First Bank. I know it's only been a few months, but if you were to be able to look ahead over the rest of your career, especially within this position, what do you think, what would you identify as the legacy that you wish to leave?
The First Bank will be further entrenched into the fabric of the society. We want to live in the heart and mind of Nigerians, that we are First Bank and we support economic development.
There you have it. That's the CEO of First Bank of Nigeria, Olusegun Alebiosu. They're talking us through what impact truly means to him in financial sense, in all type of senses, here on the sidelines of the 79th edition of the UN General Assembly.